So coming from the South China Morning Post, Alibaba unveils new Qwen model, custom chips in bid to become China's, quote, AI factory. Ah, crap, we lost. We lost. We might as well give up now. China's opening up an AI factory and there's no way we compete. There's one thing I know as an American, it's just we cannot compete in manufacturing. They opened up the factory, the game is over. So anyways, I think this is an interesting story because with Alibaba, one of the most important parts about this entire story is the fact that they're going after every layer of the AI stack. And this is one of the things that I have been screaming about for a long time. And everybody ignores me because I'm just a aspie in a basement, right? So basically the idea is like whenever you look at technology, one of the things like new people don't necessarily understand is you have all these individual products, right? So again, I talk about this with the Microsoft world. You used to have Exchange server, an Active Directory server, file servers, routing remote access server. You had all these different servers and that type of thing. If you have the individual servers and services, they work on their own. To be clear, they work on their own just fine. But when you try to integrate them with other services or products, it can be a bit of a disaster. And so the idea is that you basically want to be on one stack. So we talk about the Microsoft stack. One of the valuable things with the Microsoft stack is if you buy into the Microsoft world, they just have a tremendous number of products that basically nowadays snap together like very janky Legos. I mean, they snap together, but they don't really snap together like Legos. They kind of snap together like knockoff Legos. But you know, that's good. And that's actually good in the technology world. They do snap together. Might need a little force. Might need a little glue every once in a while, right? So that's the thing, right? So we're talking about things like a hybrid architecture. So we talk about public clouds and private clouds. So public cloud is something like Microsoft Azure. That's their cloud services. A private cloud is you use a software called Hyper-V, something like that. And basically you have your own physical servers in your own server room, but you basically build cloud services on that, right? And so that's your private cloud. That's the cloud that you own. And so then you can have hybrid cloud. And what hybrid cloud is where your private cloud is able to relatively seamlessly communicate with the public cloud. And so you've got cloud stuff going on. Anyways, you either understand it or you don't. Here's the thing, in the Microsoft world, it's amazing because they have so many services, right? So you can have SQL. So you can have a relational database. It can either be up on their cloud, it can be on your servers, it can be back and forth. Like there's this really cool stuff with migrating virtual machines. So VPSs, virtual like servers. Like you can literally just move servers off of your infrastructure up to their infrastructure and then bring it back down again. And it all works together relatively seamlessly. We think about this with things like tech stacks, like with Apple computers, right? So I'm talking into an iPhone right now. One of the great things in the Apple world is that so much stuff seamlessly works together, right? I have an Apple Watch for when I go running. So the Apple Watch connects to my AirPods, right? When I get done with my run. So I can run without my phone. I run, it collects all the information, plus it's putting the music. And so I have Apple Music too. So Apple Music goes onto my watch. I listen to Apple Music through the phones, through the headphones. I do my run, I get done with my run, I can go to my phone and I can immediately pull up the little fitness thing and see how far I ran and how many calories I burned and all kinds of stuff because it's all seamlessly together, right? You can do all kinds of stuff. You get it. Like the whole Apple ecosystem works well together. And so one of the things with the NVIDIA world is that they have their stack. So not only do they have their GPUs, but they sell, one of the big things that they sell right now is actually their networking equipment. So one of the things you have to be thinking about, once you build out data centers that are twice the size of Manhattan, which apparently is a real thing. Anyways, you've actually got to connect all these computers together. So you have the GPUs, you have the servers, you have a networking layer. So NVIDIA is really big in that networking layer. There's something called CUDA that allows you to program in order to do a parallel processing across these GPUs, right? And that becomes the NVIDIA stack. So it's not just the GPU itself, it's all this stuff that comes together to build whatever solution is you're trying to sell. And that's one of the reasons, like, even though Intel, apparently, I've been informed, I don't have time to bother to test them out. Apparently, Intel is actually making some decent GPUs right now. And you might be like, wow, Intel's making, but who cares? Again, one big thing, because where's their stack, right? NVIDIA has the AI stack, and Intel, even if their GPUs are fine, has GPUs. All right, again, we look at this with AMD. AMD apparently does have a stack that just nobody cares about. They got one. Nobody cares about it. All right, so that's one of the big things in the AI world right now is the NVIDIA stack. Everything from the GPU to the CUDA for actually writing code for it to be able to run on the GPUs and the servers, to interconnecting all of the servers, all of that kind of stuff comes together in a big deal. And so that's one of the big values for NVIDIA. Now, the issue that we have now with China is since we have not been willing to sell them AI hardware, they have been having to build basically the entire stack. So again, we saw this with Huawei where we mandated export controls so they couldn't buy CPUs. And so then Huawei designed CPUs. And then Huawei wasn't able to buy our operating system. So Huawei built their own operating system, right? And, other companies can't buy GPUs. So they started building their own GPUs. And so the interesting thing now with Alibaba is they're trying to own a stack. And the thing is, right, that is an entire thing you can just sell to a company. Like if I was in the technology world, if I was trying to sell stuff to businesses or executives right now, I don't sell a GPU. I don't sell a computer. I sell a solution. That's what the stack gives you, is it gives you that overall solution. And so with Alibaba really pushing into this area, it's just not. Whatever our policy is, it's not working. It's not working. Anyway, so we take a look at this. This is kind of interesting. Alibaba Group Holding unveiled a sweeping suite of new AI products spanning models, cloud infrastructure, and chips on Wednesday, positioning itself to become China's AI factory as autonomous agents gain prominence. Speaking at the Alibaba Cloud Summit at Huangzhou, Senior Vice President of Alibaba's cloud computing unit framed AI as a new form of manufacturing that generates revenue through, quote, training and inference factories. Quote, what we're building is China's AI factory, Liu said, describing Alibaba as the only AI and cloud company in the country operating all 5 layers of the full AI stack. And so that's the big interesting thing here. This isn't just the model. This isn't just a GPU. It's not individual hardware. It's all the layers of the stack, which bridges chips, agentic cloud, AI models, model service platforms, and agentic applications. During the event, Alibaba announced Qwen 3.7 Max, the company's latest proprietary large language model, designed as a robust foundation for AI agents. According to Alibaba, the model excels at agentic coding, complex reasoning, and long horizon tasks. Complex multi-step missions requiring continuous decision-making over extended periods of time. The company said Qwen 3.7 Max could autonomously operate for up to 35 hours without performance degradation. The former Chief Technology Officer of Alibaba Cloud, who was recently appointed to Chief AI Architect of the newly formed Alibaba Group Technology Committee, said the model consistently ranked among the top tier on various benchmarks and outperformed all other models in China. So that is a big thing. So basically, it's the best model that China has. While preview versions teased on Tuesday showed Qwen 3.7 Max overtaking domestic rivals in text and vision capabilities, it still trails top US models from companies like Anthropic, Google, and OpenAI. But one of the things that I really want you to think about here is that time keeps on ticking, ticking, ticking into the future. Right, it's interesting, right? I've been talking about this whole thing with their whole models and their whole technology and how it's not as good as ours, right? It's behind ours. One of the things I've discussed before is when you talk about China being behind America, you think, okay, we're in 2026 and they're in 2006, right? They're using Windows XP and I miss Windows XP. Anyways, we're using Windows 11, right? And that's kind of the idea, right? When in reality, one of the things with a lot of this stuff is that realistically, they're only a couple of years behind, right? So it's 2026, right? They're probably in the 2024 world, right? By any estimate, when you talk with the people, whatever else, worst case scenario, they're in 2024 world, they're probably in 2025 world. And why I bring this up, and I've talked about this a lot with this frontier model horse crap that's been going on in the United States and this overinvestment in frontier models, is the whole point that I make, having played with this stuff for many years now, is once you get into 2024, once you get into 2025, most of these models are good enough to do most tasks that you need done, right? The latest OpenAI model might be quote unquote the best. We'll just say it's the best. But if you take a model from a year ago, again, the models were doing work then. And so one of the big concerns here, right, if you're a technology professional, again, you're a CTO, CIO in Argentina, in Zimbabwe, in Switzerland, and you're thinking about things like your risk tolerance, and you're thinking about what systems do you want to be building on for the future, right? As soon as you put something into your server room, the minute you turn it on, it becomes legacy and it never goes away. As you're looking at Alibaba, you're looking at Huawei, you're looking at this kind of stuff, and you're looking at America with NVIDIA or AMD, and the thing to be thinking about is like, okay, well, I can buy this product. It's probably going to cost less than the American counterpart, and it's going to do the work that I need done. And I can buy it, and if I want to buy more of it, I just swipe the credit card and buy more of it, and no big deal, right? Again, I buy 1,000 of these servers, fine. I need to buy another 10,000 of these servers, fine. Basically, as fast as China can manufacture the equipment, they will sell you the equipment. Right? On the other hand, again, you got the United States. You go to swipe your credit card to buy another 1,000 servers. All of a sudden, right? That old guy in the White House had a nightmare last night. And in that nightmare, he saw Winnie the Pooh as a cyborg. And that old senile bastard in the White House realized that meant that China was about to create RoboCops. Ergo, we've got to crack down on our export controls of AI equipment. So you can't buy the servers that you want to buy from us, right? Do you have the risk tolerance for that? And as China builds and sells these stacks at scale, at what point is it too dangerous to deal with the United States? Anyways, I'm gonna keep screaming about this, right? Because again, like if you think about the models or whatever else, would you really cry if you had to use a model from a year ago? We'll put it on the table. Qwen 3.7 is the equivalent of OpenAI from a year ago. Is that the thing that's gonna really trip you up? On Wednesday, Alibaba also introduced the Zhenwu M890, an AI training and inference chip. The company said the hardware delivered 3 times the performance of its predecessor, making it, quote, exceptionally well suited for complex agentic AI workloads. And so again, we're seeing more and more of these AI chips coming out of China. In January, Alibaba's chip design arm, T-Head, noted that the previous Zhenwu 810E performed on par with NVIDIA's H20. So H20 is the chip that we were trying to sell China before, and I think they said no to that. So now we're trying to sell the H200 to them. So I don't know where the M890 compares to the H200, but it does seem like they're trucking ahead. As of April, Alibaba had shipped 560,000 of the Zhenwu chips to more than 400 clients across 20 industries, including car makers and financial services, according to T-Head president. And so again, we start looking at how much they're selling. So 560,000 compared to what NVIDIA is currently manufacturing. Obviously, that's less. But if there's one thing we know China can do, they can definitely scale manufacturing capacity. Gao said T-Head planned to launch the Zhenwu V900 processor in the third quarter of 2027, followed by the Zhenwu J900 in the third quarter. Alibaba also launched, a supernode server equipped with a new M890 chip. First debuted last year with an older chip, the server infrastructure has, quote, dramatically improved the handling of large-scale concurrent requests from agents, according to the company. So anyways, there we go. We have Alibaba pushing ahead with their entire tech stack, right? So, as we said, Huawei is doing what Huawei does. Alibaba is pushing ahead. So many of these other Chinese companies are pushing ahead. And so it is just amazing to see how we have been able to stop China's progress. It just brings a little tear to my eye to see how successful we have been at kneecapping, China's progress as a civilization. Definitely brings a tear to my eye. Definitely brings a tear. So anyways, that's where we're at. And this is exactly what I've been concerned about. And as we go, this process is only going to get faster, right? First you have to be able to figure out how to make chips. Then you have to be able to figure out how to make RAM. Then you have to figure out how to make other components. You have to figure out how to make the operating system, the software. Then you have to figure out interoperability. And that's the thing. It's like each time it's like, right? Like we were told as Americans, right? Huawei, is gonna go out of business because we're not gonna sell them, processors anymore. And then they created processors. Right? And that's the interesting part with this, is that they just continue to move forward, and that development is only going to move faster. And when I see as an American what we're doing here and what seems to be a complete lack of real planning, right? The planning here is how to create bubbles. Right? China is building artificial intelligence. The United States is building bubbles. What is exciting about AI in the United States right now? SpaceX being worth $2 trillion and OpenAI being worth $1 trillion and Anthropic being worth $1 trillion. What's exciting about AI in China? Right? Again, they're deploying robotic cars. They have dark factories that don't even have humans in them. Right? You just look at where they're progressing and you look at what we're focused on. I don't see how this is a winning path. But anyways, you've all heard that many, many, many times before. But maybe if I say it for the 5,000th time. Anyway, so what do you think about this? What do you think about Alibaba coming out with the full AI stack? And when you hear that it's, not as good as the American stack, what do you think that really means? And from a practical standpoint, if you're an actual technology decision maker, what's more important to you? Is it more important to you to be able to have access to the hardware and resources that you need when you need them, or to have cutting edge hardware resources, right? I don't know. Put your thoughts down below. If you do like these episodes, you can get them on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. Also, if you want to follow me on LinkedIn, there's a link in the doobly-doo. With that, see y'all later.